Welcome back to Rob's Rant and Ramble. Today we're going to go down the deep rabbit hole of conspiracies, UFOs, the United States cover-up. Elon Musk is now the new James Bond villain. So we got a lot to unpack today. So we're going to talk about Ashley St. Clair, which is the baby mama for Elon Musk, former ex-girlfriend, outspoken conspiracy theory woman as well. Scorn woman at that. Now, you better believe when you got a baby mama, she talks all kinds of crap about baby daddy all the time, especially if baby daddy happens to be world's most richest man and also the founder of all the latest tech companies, Tesla. So, you know, it's interesting. We also had the UFO files come out. They really started releasing them about 2 weeks ago. We got a new batch of videos out today. And then also you got the ongoing situation with Iran. And, you know, last, there was an interesting person that was on Fox News who was allegedly wearing a mask. And so it just seems like we're being sold a fake bag of goods, right? It's coming all too common. I know when I was growing up, you know, I blindly just kind of believed what was on TV. I always knew that there was the CIA and there were cover-ups, perhaps ulterior motives. You know, we all saw 9/11 happen, and, you know, we were just like, oh my God. Now, because of perhaps COVID and the vaccines and, you know, other things that have came to light more recently, you know, we've been lied to. And we've been down this fake rabbit hole that, well, the U.S. government and global politicians, and they've been trying to convince us that things aren't what they seem, right? Epstein files is also a great litmus test for, you know, where we're at in the environment, right? It's everyone's demanding the files, and they're like, hey, you know what? Donald Trump said, like, once I get elected, I'm releasing the JFK files, the Epstein files. All of this is coming at you without any hesitation. And UFO files, which we did get the UFO ones, by the way. But, you know, the Epstein files came out as lackluster as far as the transparency, right? They omitted a ton of names. Also, you know, on those files, they only released like 30% of all of the files. And so, you know, it wasn't a request either. This was Donald Trump campaigning on the fact that, like, hey, I'm going to release these Epstein files. And then he gets in office and he abruptly pumps the brakes. Now, you might immediately, you know, hear the pushback, and it's like, hey, Donald Trump is trying to cover up, and he's trying to say that he wasn't part of that. And, like, you know, it's not really where I stand. I don't think that there's a Donald Trump cover up here. However, you know, Donald Trump is the president, has lots of friends in power and powerful friends. And these powerful friends, as we know, we've seen the list of people that have been released, which, you know, some multimillionaires, you have heads of states and other countries that were implicated in this Epstein files. And so, you know, ultimately start to think, like, is this a cover up for Donald Trump, or is Donald Trump covering up for his friends and other powerful people, and perhaps even nation states? You know that there's something more behind the curtain, because if there wasn't, the files would simply be, you know, released, right? If there was nothing to hide, then, especially if the courts come up and say, hey, you know what, you are legally required to release these files, and then you take 3 weeks to release them after the court says you do, and then when you do release them, you only release a small percentage of them, and then the small percentage that you do release, you redact different names and high-profile people that, for some reason, have no need to be blacked out there. And you have multi-billionaires in there and powerful people, and so, you know, you start to realize after COVID, after the election fraud, which was Donald Trump's re-election campaign, which he lost to Joe Biden, after the Epstein files and the lack of transparency there, and well, just perhaps the friction behind or releasing all of the files and all the information, you got to ask yourself, like, how much of history is true? And like, I was never a non-believer in 9/11. Like, I always, I don't think that any of this is AI generated. I don't think that it's all scripted. I don't think there was any bombs in the towers that went off before the planes hit. Like, I think in actuality, what we saw is what happened. However, I'm starting to think, what was not told to us? What events led to that? And what did the U.S. government know and ultimately hide from us prior to prior to those days and even afterwards? And I have no doubt that there's a massive cover-up behind 9/11. I don't doubt it. Now, the lives are lost. The towers did fall. The planes did disappear, and so I'm not saying it from that perspective. I'm not a flat earther. However, you got to say to yourself, like, what are they not telling us? And this is something that I think that the United States, and particularly even more globally, people are starting to question things that were taken for granted in the past, that were simply saying like, hey, this happened, it was crazy. Now people are looking back like, did this really happen in the way that they say they did? And so I wanted to start off today's show by bringing up Elon Musk's baby mama, ex-girlfriend, Ashley St. Clair. She was streaming, or she posted a TikTok. I'm not exactly sure what platform it went on, but she had some very interesting words to drop here on the front end of this video. So go ahead and run this one. I'm curious.
And then October rolls around. And in October, Elon tells me that he is ready to release his, in his words, anomaly in the Matrix. And I am like, oh, like, who's that? And he says that he has 10,000 lasers in space, referring to his satellites. I say, because I am like rather uncomfortable and I know the gravity of what he's trying to tell me right now, I say, wow, finally a focus on the Jewish vote. He keeps going and he says, this is not this is not a piece that they'll see on the chessboard. And I straight up tell him.
What exactly is he suggesting here?
That's the big question. So it's like, if you're going to get conspiracy theories, it's at this point, you got to ask yourself, like, okay, what is the basis? Like, what are you trying to frame here, right? Because you threw out lasers. It's kind of like you remember Austin Powers, where he was like, I want sharks with lasers on their heads.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but what does that accomplish? Like, how the hell does satellites and lasers affect the Jewish vote? Now, I'm not dismissing. I'm not saying that like this lady's, batshit crazy. I'm just simply stating that, like, what is the correlation between a laser in space and a U.S. registered voter, rabbi, whatever his name is. What's a rabbi name? What's a rabbi name? I can't. I'm drawing a blank on rabbi names.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Not sure.
So the
I can give you a few. Let me look some up.
I was trying to paint a picture, and I had a rabbi here. But anyways, like, what is the correlation? So Ashley here is saying ultimately that Elon Musk, who was partnered with Donald Trump prior to his election, which, they were buddy. Now you can say, like, the man has all of the technology behind his bag. I see you smiling. Did you find some rabbi names?
How about Yaakov? It's like
Yaakov?
it's like Jacob, but like a Jewish version.
Yaakov?
Yaakov, or Yitzhak. It was basically the version of Isaac. You got Abraham with a V.
Abraham?
Abraham with a V. That's a version of Abraham.
Abraham. So you gotta think to yourself, like, okay, so Elon Musk partnered up with Donald Trump, and you gotta remember this. Prior to Donald Trump, so if we were gonna put some legs behind this conspiracy theory, we're gonna say like, hey, you know what? There's some merit to this. Maybe she's on to something. She is, hugged up with the man in bed. He's very excited. He likes to brag. He likes to talk about his accomplishments, and you see it in all his interviews and even in the people that he just rubs elbows with. And so, a woman that he's sharing the bed with, would surprise me if the man is influencing elections, that he's going to be like, hey, boo thing, listen here. I am actively, swaying the vote here. And if he does have power through lasers, I don't know. I still can't connect the dots, but
there may be a reasonable explanation here. I'm reading that the lasers may appear to be a part of the laser communication system used between SpaceX and Starlink satellites. They send data communication via laser beams.
So when I'm thinking lasers and influencing vote, I'm thinking like I'm walking down the street with my Starbucks and I get hit in the retina with a red laser. Like a concert where someone in the stands is hitting the singer with the laser from the stands. That's what I'm thinking. So what you're saying is that perhaps the data was manipulated through communication through the satellites, and they were beaming it down, perhaps through lasers, perhaps infiltrating Wi-Fi. Now, see, this is what we're doing. We're connecting the dots here in real time, trying to figure out what happened. But back to what led up to the election, because, Elon Musk was on multiple podcasts, Joe Rogan saying this is the most important election. And if the Republicans were to lose this, the Democrats, have ultimately opened up the floodgates, which is the southern border, and allowed anyone and everyone to cross the border, which in turn, with no voter IDs, you're basically just importing voters from down south and other countries as well. And then having a lax voting system, you're enabling these people to vote. That was Elon Musk's whole thing. And so you got to ask yourself if he really thought that was the most important election and that Donald Trump had to absolutely win it, but yet he has the technology to disrupt votes. Would he do it? I would like to think that Elon Musk is a man of honor and transparency and honesty, but you never know. He is obviously one of the richest people, who was also mentioned in the Epstein files, by the way. He had a couple email exchanges with Epstein. Now, he never visited the island. If you were to look at the receipts for his communications, it was like, hey, I would like you to come by the island, or he wanted to come by the island. He never did. He said he was busy. I don't know how. Anyways, it fell apart. Elon Musk did reply to this on X and say, like, see, I wasn't there, wasn't part of it. But, that's just through our receipts and the communications. Perhaps there is something there. I'm not alluding to that, but I'm just saying that the man could potentially be hiding secrets, and could some of those secrets be manipulation into the election? It's possible. I don't know, man. But the whole laser thing is interesting. And then he also said he was like disrupting the matrix, which is, it's like we went down this deep rabbit hole, right? Now I got to thinking that Starlink was simply because, like, how many like James Bond movies have you seen where they weaponize the satellites? Like, if anybody here is going to be a James Bond villain in real life, in an actual day, it's got to be Elon Musk. I mean, he's got satellites in space with lasers. It's like a modern day Death Star here, and he's pointing it at Earth. He's like manipulating votes, and then on top of that, he also has the AI chips, right? What is the Neuralink? So you have the Neuralink, so he's trying to control your thoughts, and at the same time, he's got weaponizing lasers for political votes, and you gotta ask yourself, like, what's really going on? Is there more to this? And that's the whole theme of today's show. Is like we're pulling back the curtain, and like, what have we been lied to? These people that are heroes, the people that we prop up, could perhaps be, a mask in disguise. Maybe there's a person behind that. You never know. And then also you got to just kind of think, like, the conspiracy theories have really evolved here. We went from like the Dominion voting machines. Basically, you could plug in a USB stick and kind of like take over those things. That was back in 2020. And now, we're talking about lasers, and there's a glitch in the matrix, and you got the UFOs out. And so, quite interesting. And then you also got to just think you have the largest tool, right? Because let me ask you something. If you were to say, like, what is the biggest influence currently right now? What is a tool that everybody's using? What is something that everyone has in their hands and just loves to use routinely? And the obvious answer here is AI. It's AI. AI is everywhere. Everyone uses AI. I mean, my mom, who barely just figured out Facebook a couple years ago, was over here AI prompting and then telling me that AI is like telling her that I should be like getting my prostate checked. I'm like, Mom, like, get off of there. So now that said, Elon Musk has Grok, right? And so if you were going to be this, James Bond villain, you were trying to influence elections, and what better way of doing it than to control the communication satellites, to have some kind of data interference that you can beam from satellites. On top of that, you have one of the strongest AI models out there with Grok, and it's interesting. I don't really have a conclusion. I'm not going to sit here and say like he's doing X, Y, and Z. However, you got to ask yourself, like, is there any merit to Ashley St. Clair's accusations that he's manipulating the matrix and swinging the popular vote into Donald Trump's favor, using satellites to do so? I don't know. What's your thoughts there, JP? What's your immediate takeaway? You think this is BS, or do you think there could be some kind of legitimacy to Ashley's claims here?
We also have to take into consideration that she could just be a scorned baby mama, right? Oof.
So glad you said that.
And I remember she was kind of pissed that she wasn't getting, paid, the way that she assumed she would be for having his baby.
Well, let's be real. If you have a baby from Elon Musk, the world's richest man, I mean, you're going to expect a check.
Yeah.
It goes with the territory. Like, you can sit here and say, like, hey, I had coffee with Elon Musk. I was expecting him to invest in my company. I had I bought some shares of Tesla, so I thought that we would go on a boating trip together. There's a lot of assumptions out here, right? And with rich people, a lot of people try to take advantage of them, and that's just natural, and you can't really argue with that. But there's a lot of times you can just simply say no, or like, people try to take advantage of people's wealth. It's common. However, you can't deny, if you got a baby and baby daddy got money, you're going to get a cut of that. It is what it is. And then what just happens time and time again, if you receive friction on this, if you have a baby by the world's wealthiest man, and yet you're living in a small apartment, driving just a regular base model Tesla, you might be a little pissed the hell off. And then if you get drugged through the mud because you also own a social media platform and you tarnish her name, you make her sound like she's batshit crazy, then at that point, you're going to be like, you know what? Like, screw this guy. And maybe she was scorned and maybe she's just making this up. Or maybe Elon Musk actually did it and she was like, you know what? I'm going to reveal your dumb ass.
So what I'm seeing is that Elon has given her $2.5 million lump sum plus sending her $500,000 per year in support. But they still have a dispute over custody.
But like that's my point, right? After you receive that, after you pay taxes, we know she ain't working. She's not pulling in her barista job. And so she's receiving $500,000, which post tax is like $200,000. We know that nice apartment in whatever city she lives in, that's probably half of her income there. And then you got, designer clothes, which I'm sure she wears. Anyways, we know that's not fitting the bill. You got the world's richest man. The man literally sneezes millions of dollars. Like he just happens to wake up one morning and his stock will go up on one of his companies. And in doing so, just that small 1% rally, he'll net a capital gains of, $10-20 million. And if you're only dishing out $500,000 annualized to your baby mama, I mean, the percentages don't add up. Because as a man, I got a couple kids. I'm not hit with any child support, but let me just tell you that I'm familiar with child support, and they can garnish up to 18% of your wages, right? By law, if you were not paying, for example, now you can come to any agreement you want when you're litigating child support. However, let's just say you're a degenerate piece of shit man and you don't pay your child support and the state goes after you, they can garnish your wages. But the most that they can garnish is 18%. Now, what is the net worth of Elon Musk? I know it's in the billions. He's not quite a trillionaire yet, but he
will be the first trillionaire. But
I think he's like 200 something.
I'll get a current number.
Billion, I think is
yeah, 780 to 815 billion dollars.
$700 billion.
Yeah.
Now, what is 1% of 700 billion? What is 1% of 700 billion? Say now, mind you, if I don't pay child support, I can get my wages garnished for 18%. Now, let's say I make $100,000. That's $18,000 a year.
Yep.
Now, and if you're making, upwards of your net worth is $700 billion. I mean, ultimately, was that $7 billion?
$7 billion. Just $7 billion is 1% of it. Yep.
So it's $7 billion. Now, $7 billion is $500,000. You're talking about 0.0002% of his net worth is paid annually to his baby mama. The heir to the throne is there, in her arms, and she needs some money to raise this thing. And so I did want to shift from one conspiracy theory to the other, at least. I don't know about conspiracy theory, but like what the fuck is going on? Admiral Robert Harward. So not anybody I personally knew up until yesterday, but the Admiral was on Fox News, somebody that he's repeatedly been on guests on different news shows, but yesterday's appearance was particularly strange when you took a look at the video. Roll the video and then let's see what we see here.
Point he makes, and also Iran has a vote in this as well. They've reconfigured a number of things, I am certain. What do you think the next best move is today?
Well, I agree with the general completely, with one caveat. Patience may be a little short of the real objective here. The president has
I don't know if y'all caught that, but there is a large gap under his neck there. And
yeah, you could see it flapping around when he was talking. And here's a before. That's at 5:18, just days before. And then 5:21 is the day that he was on the air.
Yeah, and you can see like there's no movement on that, and it doesn't. it goes back to the conspiracy theories. And when I was looking into this, and there was this thing where I was like, hey, there's makeup and there's lighting, and there's like a studio environment, and you got weird lighting, and
yeah,
I ain't buying that.
You can clearly see the shadow.
Yeah, that's like, I know a mask when I see one. It's like, you've seen those videos. You got any of those videos like where the people put the mask on and it's like deliberately, they got like a whole wall full of the masks, and then like you can just like pick one of. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's
like this is what we just saw. Like, this dude looks more real than the guy I just saw on Fox News. Now, the mask obviously would go further down, but then you also got to ask yourself, like the former admiral. So obviously he's got connections to government officials. He's representing a government official. I think he's a retired admiral. So from my understanding, Robert is not an active admiral, or maybe he is, but I thought I saw. I don't know if you want to look it up or not, but pretty sure he is a former service member, admiral, the largest, the highest ranking position in the Navy. And you gotta ask yourself, like, what were we looking at? Because I mean, there's really no question to it. It's 100% a mask. And then you have him joining, which is to pump up this narrative that what is happening in Iran currently is the best move for the U.S., right? And so, like, you're on Fox News, you're brought on as a guest to basically support the idea of an invasion of Iran, or to say that, hey, our presence there in Iran and our military operations have ultimately been a good thing, and that we're on the right path and we're doing everything correct. And like, sure, he might have contradicted that in a small way, but ultimately it was a positive message for what is happening in Iran, and we're trying to shoot down those narratives that, hey, like this war is bad. Obviously, mainstream. The mainstream individuals, the people, me and you, are the podcasters, people that are not mainstream media, are not vibing with this war. And there's polls and surveys, and people are just pissed off. You're seeing, I just put $120 in my gas tank. My gas used to be less than $80 to fill up, sometimes $65, $70. Now it's damn near double. And, it's not, people just are pissed the hell off. And so there's one mainstream media out here that is promoting and hyping up the situation at hand, which is Fox News. And so Fox News is trying to paint this picture like, hey, like, this is a good thing for the country. And so how do you convince people that it's a good thing? Well, you bring on an admiral. You bring on a military professional to say, like, hey, our actions in the Strait of Hormuz and in Iran, this is good. This is good for the American people. This is a great thing. Like, we're on the right path. Sure, we might have made a couple mistakes here, but like, ultimately, like, we know what we're doing. Donald Trump knows what we're doing. Like, we're doing great things. But like, what if the admiral doesn't believe that? What if you can't find a military expert, a high-ranking military expert, to come onto your show and say this? Or perhaps you're scheduled to go on, and in turn, you have a different perspective. And then they're like, hey, we can't have you saying that. And so the man is compromised. But yeah, we still need him to speak. I don't know who's behind the mask. I feel like it's one of those like Scooby-Doo movies, like, who is behind the mask? And you pull it off, and it's like, the janitor, or whoever it is, the small character that got introduced in the beginning. And it's like,
I'm thinking he's either a burn victim or trying to hide the scars, or maybe he's a reptilian. Are you of the mind of the reptilians? On the face of Earth?
The reptilians. If you could give me some tangible evidence on reptilians, I would love to believe it. The stories, the theories, they're so compelling. They make so much sense. Like I can't say to you like that makes no sense. It does make sense. Like the reptilians in all its glory sounds plausible. It connects a lot of dots, right? It basically answers a lot of questions, right? When you as a detective, you know, you use your intuition. You're like, okay, well, like, why did this man like? Okay, let me ask you this: when a detective is trying to solve a case, you always go the very first tool that you have, if you're lacking physical evidence, is you say, what is the motive? Why? Why do you ask what the motive is? Because you want to know, like, how do we get here? Why did this happen? And so there's so much mystery out here, and you know, in Hollywood and the United States with government, and you know, you got weird Hollywood celebrity parties, and you know, you say to yourself like, you know, what is the motive? Like, you know, why are these things happening? And then it comes to reptilians, and it checks so many boxes. It answers so many questions. Only problem is there's no physical evidence. I need to see reptilian bones. I need to see a weird skull. That's what I need, because I believe the theory. I think the theory is right. I just think the reptilian perhaps isn't the right plug and play, right? Perhaps it isn't reptilian. Maybe it's just like a shapeshifter. Perhaps it's like, maybe we're in some kind of like Marvel movie where there's people with superpowers that we're not aware of, and they're like a secret community, or maybe there's like underground vampire. I don't know. I'm just saying that I don't know if reptilians is the answer, but there's a lot of unknowns, and society has a lot of things that they're hiding, and something fits the bill. But I haven't seen any reptilian skulls or bones or claws. And so for that reason, I can't blindly say that it's the reptilians, but
you got to fill in the blanks, Rob.
I agree. I just don't think the right blank is reptilian.
I know.
That's where I'm at. But you know, you got to ask yourself like, hey, you know, the mask thing, it's very suspicious, right? What's behind it? And so, you know, you in the comments, I'd love to hear what you would like to, what your theory is behind like what's going on with this guy in the mask, the former admiral, and you know, is there, you know, what do you think the motive is? And so you said you think he might be a burn victim. I don't think so, man. There's definitely a cover up. It's no coincidence, and it happens to be a narrative that is unpalatable by the U.S. viewer, and they're trying to shift the narrative to be in favor of this conflict. And so having a prominent figure speaking in a pro-Iran confrontation kind of way, it seems oddly convenient. And if you're having difficult finding an admiral or someone of that stature to speak in a pro-light, I mean, you know what, maybe it's just the CIA, man, because obviously the CIA's got those things, man. 100%. CIA's got a lot of crap.
You would think they would have a better mask, though. Just give them the longer neck. Like, why'd they give them the short neck?
Maybe it was a longer neck, but maybe it just got cut, right? Maybe it tore, because those latex masks, they're very, very fragile. And so I'm thinking it was one that you know, went further down, and perhaps like he was adjusting his shirt or whatever it was, and had a little cut in there, and then that had a little tear, and then that was flapping. They're doing a live show, and you know, and the dude's face looked oddly like, do you have that comparison thing?
Yeah, you can see it right here.
Yeah, well, like you can see his face looks smoother too, like, yeah. Right? Looks a little bit more withered and beat up there on the left. It's got a little bit more of the turkey giblets on the bottom. And then...
yeah, maybe he's subconscious or self-conscious about the turkey giblet. Maybe he's trying to hide his neck. That's the only thing I could think of, like a plausible explanation.
No, man. Like everything seems smoother, right? I mean, his face has smoother lines, and it's not, you know, when you look at at the entirety of his face, it looks different, right? I mean, like, okay, stop looking at the neck and look at it. Look at his face. Doesn't it kind of look like two different people? I mean, he has like a longer chin structure. Obviously, you're in a different angle, different lighting, but
I see less wrinkles. I see less wrinkles here on the right side.
yeah, and so my thing is like, it doesn't seem like the same person. It's similar. I think that they did a good job on, replicating the man. But I mean, ultimately, I feel like I'm not looking at the same person. The guy on the left seems a little bit older. He's looks like more like a veteran, right? Like a military veteran. The guy on the right looks like a NPC, bro. I know an NPC when I see one. So there's that story. And then also you had the UFO files came out. So, which if you have a deck of, say you have a deck of cards or you're holding your hand, you got to reveal your hand, one of your cards in your hand. You got to say like, you're getting pushed, right? I don't know what game it is. But you got cards in your hand. You got to reveal one, right? We've all played enough card games, board games, whatever it is. Like, there's certain times where you have to reveal a card in your hand. And I think that's what we saw. Out of the UFO files. And it's a weak card. And so you have the executive branch. You got Donald Trump. He's sitting here. He's got the Epstein files. There's God knows what the hell's going on with this crap with the mask, and got Ashley St. Clair going out here revealing the AI Death Star laser that's been influencing the Rabbi Avraham or whatever his name was, and so he's like, all right, I gotta give him something. We can't give him the Epstein file. He's looking at his hand. He's like, all right, I got Epstein files. Can't give that one away. No. Who actually killed at JFK? No. Let's keep that one in the pocket. Well, we got these grainy UFO videos. Like, let's do those. Like, give them the UFO videos. Like, that's what we got. The grainy piece of crap UFO videos, which coincidentally. Is these videos, most of these videos, I don't know which ones you have pulled up. I know you got some queued up, but these videos are on the most sophisticated military planes out there. You got the AC-130 and yet the resolution is so ass.
Yeah,
like
a lot of them I know are like the infrared, and it's good for the weaponry, but not so good for viewing. And he also redacted a lot of stuff here. You see the black boxes.
Yeah,
redacted a lot of information.
I saw one where it was like a circle, and then the circle just like turbo vanished. Like you saw it like shoot off. Maybe it's this one. It like sprung off to the right, just crazy fast. Yeah, there it was. That was the one. Yeah. So, there's a lot of questionable things here on this. It also seems like if you had the cards in your hand and you're like looking here to what to release, and like you have alien technology from a downed UFO that you're hoarding in a hangar, it's like, okay, give them the UFO stuff, but just give them the grainy video. Just the grainy video, nothing else. They're like, well, what about the little green man we got, whatever it is? Because, yeah, my last my thoughts here, and this is all just straight speculation. My thoughts here is, what is there's technology we don't understand. And we're pioneering it. The United States is pioneering technology we don't understand. And it's quantum computers. And I can't wrap my head around this scenario. And in the quantum world, and get very complex, and you have superposition and particles coming in and out of existence, and there's like a pair thing that like once quantum entanglement and then
teleporting particles.
Yeah, and this is ultimately things we don't understand. So we can't even properly observe these things. And so there's a problem in quantum mechanics, is that when you try to understand it, it behaves in a way that is ununderstandable. Like you can't understand it, you can't comprehend it. What do you mean? Like, and it's done in tests, right? And so there's these tests. I'm not a quantum physics expert here, professor, but know enough about it to kind of explain, generally how these things work. And so you can have like light, for example, quantum light or little particles, and you can shoot these particles through these holes, right? And you would figure that, with proper randomness, if you shoot a laser into the center mass of something, as it spreads, smaller parts of the laser go out further, and then in the middle where you focus the laser beam, you're going to get a ton of light shining through those holes. And so if you were to record the light on the back end of a perforated instrument where the light shines through, you would expect an even distribution where you would have a strong amount of light pouring through the perforated holes in the center, and then it would spread out, randomly, it would disperse as you go out. Anyways, they did an experiment like that with quantum physics, right? And when they shot quantum particles through these different kind of holes, they saw on the piece of paper that these quantum particles were hitting in exactly where they predicted it would. It made a perfect sense. But then when they went down to watch this happen, when the observer went to see the process of the quantum particle traveling, then it acted irregularly and it was unpredictable. And so what we came to find out is that particles in the very, very subatomic level, if you try to observe and watch what they do and understand what they do, you can't. They literally just do things that you don't expect. They just don't behave properly. It's almost like a protection mechanism, like they don't want you to see what's going on. Okay, anyways, scientists can't figure this shit out. Nobody knows why it doesn't. But yet we're building a quantum computer. How the fuck can we build a computer when we can't even see the we don't even know where they're going? We have no understanding how the mechanics work, but yet we are actively building quantum computers. And the only thing that pops into my head, the only answer to this, the only thing that logically makes any sense is that we have technology from an outside source, perhaps a down alien craft, and we can tinker, we can process, we can reverse engineer, we can say, hey, we're building a quantum computer. How the fuck are you gonna build a quantum computer and you don't even know what a quantum is? You can't even understand it. And so that's where I'm at on that one, man.
Maybe they know more than they're telling us. Exactly. They understand it.
So your thing is that they completely understand quantum physics and they're hoarding the breakthrough.
Absolutely. Think about it. We had nuclear technology like in the 30s,
I mean, either one is a conspiracy, right? But what I don't buy, and answer me this, what I don't buy is that we're actively building quantum computers without understanding the basic principles of quantum mechanics and how quantum particles work. Because the computer chip for quantum computing is exactly that. It is quantum mechanics. It's actually manipulating the quantum mechanics. So how can you manipulate something you don't understand? That's like building a skyscraper with material you don't understand. Imagine if someone's like, hey, take this tinfoil and build me a skyscraper. But like, oh, yeah, I can. Like, how can you, there's no structural, like, you can't. Like, or what if they're just like, hey, take this tub of Jell-O and build a skyscraper. That's my whole point, is that like they don't know how to manipulate the particles. And so for me, I'm just If there's any conspiracy theory I'm sure of, is that this technology is robbed. It is robbed from a greater intelligence.
How much?
Perhaps it's hoarded. Perhaps it's a breakthrough and it's hoarded. But it seems highly unlikely that we are building technology we don't understand. The world's strongest computer. And you might even say, like, what is quantum computers? Is that the next Intel i9 chip? No, it's not. It's like, this is the God code of tech. Literally uncode anything. You can run unlimited simulations, unlimited password hacks. Anything and everything can break. You know, there's always a running joke in the crypto community that quantum computers will hack Bitcoin. Who the fuck cares? Who cares about hacking Bitcoin? When you have the God code and you can unlock anything, every checking account, every bank statement, every record, every keystroke, everything becomes unlocked. Because what you can't break, and what we can't break right now without quantum computer, is encrypted messages. And encrypted messages also include banks and institutions and every single thing that has ever been put down through the internet ultimately has a receipt, and that receipt can be read. And that can be read with quantum computers. So whoever wields that power ultimately has God code on tech. So interesting. Either covering it up, covering up the breakthroughs, or to my thought, there's a down spaceship with a quantum computer on it. That's what Area 51 was. I think Area 51, they came out, they said, hey, there's a downed UFO, whatever. They took all that back, and we've been reverse engineering computers ever since then.
Do you mean Roswell?
Yeah. The
Roswell?
Roswell crash, whatever it was. And
but
then,
they may have brought the materials to Area 51.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
To do the research.
Yeah, it's all kind of like tied together, that thing. I know Area 51 is not the crash, but there's a lot of parallels to that, and a lot of people say that the Roswell crash, is what led to the Area 51 thing. So, there's no shortage of lies that the U.S. has. And then lastly, there's that tech that they had, because there's a lot of tech coming out from the U.S. And so you got to ask yourself, like, what tech do we have? They had the heart murmur. Did you hear about that?
No. What are they doing with that?
Oh man! So it's called quantum murmur, diamond murmur. I don't know what the hell it was. So remember when they shot down those airplanes in Iran? So there was two. Yeah,
the American.
There was two F-22s or something like that, or I don't know which model it was, but two fighter jets got shot down. One over Iran airspace, and so one of the pilots got immediately rescued. The other one was injured and ended up hiding in the mountains. And so one of the fighter pilots was, he was injured. He crawled up to the mountains in Iran behind enemy lines. Now, mind you, Iranian military had shot them down, saw them parachuting, so they were looking for them. And so they immediately rescued the main fighter pilot, and the other one was it was
like a navigational guy.
Yeah. He's not the pilot, right? He's the
weapons operator. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And so he was. So they knew that he was out there, right? So there was a race to get him, and there was this tech, and they found him through a heartbeat. Now this is what was released by the White House. They said. With technology called like the diamond murmur. If you could look it up. Yeah, I don't want to keep butchering the name here. But they found him through heartbeat. You remember those? Remember the heartbeat sensors on the Call of Duty?
I do remember that.
You hold up the thing and it like shows you a dot. Like that is actually like real technology now. But instead of it being a handheld one, you put it on a plane and you fly over and you can find a person's heartbeat in a mountain. Which is good for the rescue. But I mean, just think about that from the perspective of assassinating or trying to find an enemy terrorist. Like, if you can find your downed pilot in a mountain, I mean, my God.
Yeah, it's called a ghost murmur.
Ghost murmur, that's it.
Ghost murmur.
Ghost murmur, yeah. And so they found this dude miles away listening for his electromagnetic pulse that is generated from your heart. So you know how you got those EKG monitors that you put on your chest?
Yes.
That, but wireless, on a plane, miles away, 10,000 feet up in the air, you're catching that heartbeat sound, that electronic.
That's mind blowing. And they're saying it's some type of quantum magnetometry.
Quantum magnetometer that uses diamond technology. So they have impurities in diamonds. So they can amplify a signal through a diamond. And the diamond, if you arrange the molecules in the diamond in a certain way to align to a certain imperfection, you can amplify a signal. And through quantum, they called it quantum. I don't think they're actually using quantum computers, but anyways, they label it as quantum technology plus the imperfect diamond. They're picking up the sound of a heartbeat in a mountain from a plane miles away. So just wrap your head around the technology that we just had to say, because the media was like, how the hell did you find him? So they were put under the pressure. Like, well, it's called ghost murmur. It's like a diamond thing. And then on top of that, then the prior altercation was the Venezuela, where they kidnapped.
Yeah, Maduro.
In that one, there was a microwave technology, some sound thing. I don't know what it was. Anyways, all of the security personnel and the people behind the scenes were like holding their heads. They were saying they got mad headaches, and then their noses started bleeding. They're hearing weird noises. What they did, they literally took the complex and they just put a microwave around that thing, and they just turned it on to like baked potato. And that's like, and then everybody in there is all scrambled, and then in comes the Delta Force. And so, I mean, just saying that, like, the technology that we currently have that you don't personally know about, that we're just now scratching the surface. And if this is the technology that they're happy to let us know about, I mean, think about all the technology that they're hoarding from us.